Everything I do for spiritual reasons. And I've now had a 26-year career in politics where I've never hesitated to discuss my own religious journey and how it motivates my work. I don't do that to proselytize, but I feel like it's important for my constituents to know what yardstick I use to measure and to calibrate my own actions. I think we in politics often discuss our policy positions, but I believe that our motivations are every bit and maybe more important. The divine always has much about it that passeth human understanding, and human attempts to understand and interpret are natural and touching and sometimes comical. It's good that we're trying to understand and interpret, even though we're likely to fall short in our quest to know the unknowable. Because Mormons have suffered for their faith in this land that proclaims a commitment to religious liberty, it's appropriate to consider that principle, the religious liberty principle, and how it's manifested itself throughout our history. And it's particularly fitting to do so here at the university founded by the author of the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom, which is the progenitor of the First Amendment that today protects the rights of all amendments to all Americans to worship as we please or not, without being preferred or punished for the choices we make. Because we're imperfect as individuals and as a nation, we repeatedly fall short of the equality promise that Justice Ginsburg believed was her animator, until prophets like Reverend Martin Luther King or Susan B. Anthony or Thurgood Marshall or Evan Wolfson or Ruth Bader Ginsburg remind us what we've promised to ourselves and to our posterity. And this cycle of striving and then failing and then rededication will last as long as America lasts. It's not part of our story, it is our story. Our nation's on a journey, and we orient by this moral North Star, the equality principle. Sometimes we're true and we orient true, and sometimes we drift off course. Even when we're true, we find, like sailors, that we can never reach the North Star. But when we orient by it, we're less likely to err, and we're more likely to become more perfect. The history of Mormonism is not the history of a people wanting to simply worship free from restraint and thus be left alone. The Mormon faith and its adherents, a very rooted American faith, wanted to assume a place equal to those of other faith traditions in a pluralistic American society. Therefore, our commitment to religious liberty is inextricably linked to the equality principle articulated by the enormously farsighted and deeply flawed founder of this university nearly 250 years ago.